ili kuweza kukuelimisha, kukuburudisha na kukubumbuisha.
Words have been said, but now it is time to lay the foundation that will impact the world.
Terrorism is terrorism, no matter who is behind the trigger.
Angalia Uislamu ulipoanza ulianzaje? Ulianza kwa stidraji, ulianza kwa polepole. Wewe Adam alayhi salam, si umeonyeshwa kwamba ni bora kuliko malaika? Hawa malaika wamekusujudia wewe, kwa hivyo hata ukiwa malakaini ni jambo kubwa kwa hakika, na wao wamekusujudia wewe. Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala anasema, wala talbisul haqqa, musichanganye haki au kweli bilbatili, na uongo. Katika tembo kuna dhambi nyingi na faida kidogo. Ukiwa unasoma Qur'ani, ni uzuri utizame katika msahafu, ufikirie yale unayoyasoma.
Qur'ani kitabu changu, Qur'ani mwongozo wangu, Qur'ani mwombezi wangu, Qur'ani pumbao langu. Qur'ani kitabu changu, Qur'ani mwongozo wangu, Qur'ani mwombezi wangu.
Jambo very simple la mwezi, kila mtu ana lake. Hawa wasema tuelekee huku, wale wasema tuelekee kule. Ammati nas, watu wa katikati hawajui, watu wa kawaida hawajui wafuate lipi. Confusion. Leo Ramadhani si Ramadhani, leo ni Idi si Idi, na kadhalika. La, sivyo. Lazima tuwe na mwelekeo mmoja. Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala kila siku ametuamrisha katika sala tusome surat al-Fatiha, ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, ewe Mwenyezi Mungu tuongoze njia iliyonyoka. Sasa sisi tunatakana tuelekee njia iliyonyoka. Mbona twenda huku na kule, na kila mmoja ni kiongozi, kila mmoja sema lake, kila mmoja ataka kufuatwa yeye.
Allah, interestingly, and it is mu'jiza, no one else has dared to call himself Allah. Even those who are worshipping idols, there is no idol which had the name of Allah.
us as we tell you the stories of our society.
Wengine atavaa mtandio kichwani, utafikiri ni kijihandkerchief.
Enzi za wakati wa kusema ati alisema, akasisitiza, akihutubia wanahabari, enzi hizo hazipo tena.
Kwa kuchimbua na kunakili matukio kwa undani.
We want to create current awareness,
Ranging from adventure, human interest and inspirational stories.
Ili kuweza kukuelimisha, kukuburudisha na kukubumbuisha.
Words have been said, but now it is time to lay the foundation.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious and the most merciful. It is indeed a very beautiful Friday. Welcome to the round table. This is the Sabah Show with me, Aisha Khan. Now, it is the 26th of July, 2019. And of course, in the Islamic calendar, the 23rd of Dhul Qa'dah, 1440. We are coming to you live from the heart of the city center, located at Jamia Mosque. This is Horizon TV, the premier Islamic station. Now, as you all know, on the round table, we discuss hot topics, but then we'll see you in the next chapter of this. But as you all know, we need to look at stories making the top headlines. And of course, I can't do this alone. With me here is Edwin and Abdul Hakim to see, you know, what's happening in our country and of course around the globe. Are you guys feeling what I'm feeling, the Friday feeling?
Yeah, it's a lovely day and so much is happening.
Yes.
And we are excited.
We're excited. I'm also excited. Now let's look at what is happening. So on the Star, we have the headline saying, "I don't care who will succeed me, Uhuru. DP William Ruto pledges loyalty to the head of state, but reminds him of the promises they made together as Jubilee leaders in 2016. And of course, the story continues in page 6. And also you have here on Taifa Leo, Ruto aachwa mataani. Now, do you think this is the right time? Do you think that leadership, you know, right now they should be thinking of development and not, you know, who's going to be the next president 2022? Edwin.
Yeah, that is the right way to go. And we must also bring ourselves very alive to the fact that Kenya is a highly political country and everything and anything runs political. And if you look at the way things are happening right now, it's even the serious economic matters, serious health matters, issues of social concern become tools of political engagement. and you wanna ask yourself, why are we focusing on 2022 yet there are so many fundamental structural things that we need to do? We need to fix the issue of unemployment. We need to fix the issue of runaway corruption. We need to fix the issue of GDP stalling in very disturbing figures. So right now, I think the headline is in my opinion, President Kenyatta deeply in his heart cares who should succeed him. Because look at what Donald Trump did to Obama's legacy. He was repealing and replacing. You know, he said we'll repeal Obamacare and replace it. You know, so as the head of state, you're also concerned about who is going to take over so that he or she will carry on with the legacy that you started. So deep down he cares, but visibly, when he comes into the public image, of course, he wants to show he is, of course, very neutral. But the political aspect does not allow him to don't care. It allows him to care because the legacy, the big four, who will carry it on, you know? So
this is just a PR strategy.
Yeah, of
as
course.
we're looking at it right now.
It is.
What do you have to say about this?
You know, in Kenya, politics is our food. That's what we
eat, sleep, and drink politics.
It's our thing.
Yeah.
And as Edwin has said, the president cares from the bottom of his heart. He cares who will succeed him. And I don't think there is a problem. I don't think, I fail to understand how politicking gets into the way of development. We can do politics, we can play politics, and at the same time build dams, at the same time open schools, at the same time do things. You know, when people say we should not talk about the politics of 2022, it's like you're blaming somebody for being visionary. If I want to be the president in 2032 and I start working on it from now and speaking about it, there's no problem with me being visionary. I fail to see how it hinders development. It shows that we are not even doing the development in the first place. Yeah.
But you see, they're already skipping to 2022, yet there are very pertinent issues that are not discussed, you know, here in 2019. There are things they have promised us that we are still, you know, to see. Edwin.
Those who win the race, those who go home with the gold medal, start their preparations in earnest. I do not find any fault in Deputy President planning for his 2022 election. Because, come to think of it, what if he just kept quiet and said, I will resurface with politics in 2021? You'll find people have already occupied all the strategic positions and you'll be making knee-jerk reactions. And I agree with him. He says, really, nobody should be blamed for being visionary. I mean, you have an agenda. You have a roadmap. You have to plan on how to achieve your dreams and aspirations. You just don't wake up. You know, realizing dreams and aspirations is not an event. It is a process. When you want a degree, you first of all have to go to a kindergarten. You have to go through the primary phase. You have to go to secondary school. So you cannot just wake up and go to university. You cannot just wake up and become a journalist. You have to be trained. You have to get the basics. So I think just that we overdo politics in this country, just that we don't take into keen consideration the things that matter in this country. You know, and he rightly put it. Right now, we should be debating and arguing on matters of principle and facts than pure politics. Let us argue about how we're supposed to strengthen the SMEs in this country so that we boost our GDP? How are we going to make sure that retail prices are booming to strengthen our GDP? How are we going to make sure that foreign trade is really working for this country? How are we going to make sure that we reconcile the trade indifference? Because you look at the exports vis-a-vis the imports, that margin is just too wide. We import too much and export too little. Because if we export something like $17 billion or 18 thereabout, and then we export something about $5 to $6 billion, you understand? You see the gap, it's about $11 billion. So how are we supposed to bridge that? You know, we've not identified our niche. So we just need to find out, like, this gap is our strength. Let us strengthen it as we upgrade the other sectors.
I think the problem comes in about talking about the politics of 2022 and the politics of the future. The issue really, the problem comes in when you are in a wedding, or you are in a funeral, or you are at a birthday event, and you start talking about politics. You know, about the politics of 2022. But when you are launching an industry, when you are commissioning a project, when you are opening a school, there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with talking about the politics of 2022. Because what are you doing? You are delivering at the same time. And trust me, as we have to be fair to our politicians at the end of the day. You know, if you don't play politics also, you become dormant. You lack relevance. Utachezwa kama mziki.
Great, utachezwa kama muziki. That's the line for today. So we'll head to the Daily Nation. We have Governor's fury as Uhuru blocks cash. Take it or leave it. Flexing of muscles between the National Assembly and the Senate over revenue division escalates to the highest office, and President Kenyatta lays it down to governors. I do not have more money. Use what you have or generate your own. Now, as we look, the budget is at 316 billion, and they want 335 billion. Now, do you think the governors are being hard on the national government?
Many of them even do not have a track record of implementing development projects. Go into these counties and see how county government, some of the operations are convoluted. Look at how wasteful some of these resources committed to county governments have been. This does not in any way exonerate the misgiving and the untimely releasing of cash by the national government. Also, the national government is to blame for the stalled projects in county government, because the treasury has been delaying to release funds, and then it releases funds like a month into the closure of a financial year. And you know, public funds are not just funds you walk into a bank and cash in. You cannot. It follows a process because we have this PFM Act, you know, that guides how public funds are used. So what we need to do as a country is we must realign our priorities. We must get our priorities right. Devolution is the key pillar of our Kenyan constitution, and we must make it work not just by word or pronouncement, but we also must commit resources in a timely manner so that operations in county governments are running. The national government is seen to be advancing the cause objects of the county government. Now, we need to ask county governments, of all the monies that you've had, what have you been doing with it? I've said time and again.
Accountability.
Accountability.
Yes.
So some have even allocated, we've seen through the Auditor General, the Office of the Auditor General saying, counties, we have a county, go to Isiolo. You would find they have allocated 0 for development. And look at how much they are putting on salaries and allowances. True. So much of it. In fact, it's about 60% of the entire budget. And then other claims in other counties, people are claiming what cannot be seen. You cannot account. You say, I supplied furniture, but that furniture cannot be seen. Where is the furniture? We need to see it. So it's furniture air. You understand? It was brought and flew away. You understand? But money has been paid. So we need to be very prudent in our management of resources because this country has too much. In fact, we don't need to borrow. We raise enough revenues. We just need to fix the loopholes. When we fix the loopholes and we tell the taxman, fix your house, because the fault line is in the taxman's house, revenue.
Edwin, we know now there's a problem of accountability, but my producer is telling me that we need to take a short break. So we'll be taking a short break. Stay tuned. And you can talk to us. That is, find us on social media. That is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Horizontv Kenya.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. On the next episode,
kuvaa ihram haimaanishi kuwa umeingia katika ihram.
Makosa yanayofanywa wenye kufanya umra, wenye kufanya hija, kula mmoja ana makasi kidogo hapa, kata hapa kidogo, kata hapa kidogo, kata hapa kidogo. Punguza nywele ndugu yangu, hujafanya lolote hapo wewe. Tuepukeni mambo haya tafadhali. Kupunguza nywele ni nyingi, upunguze ziwe ndogo, kichwa kizima.
Hajj pia ni communal ibada. Alhamdulillah, uko na nyumba yako, uko na kitanda chako na and so on so forth, lakini ibada ya hajj ni watu wanafanya pamoja.
On the next episode,
kuna baadhi ya vizee siku hizi waliiyadhu billah, lakini yapo mzee miaka 60 70 iwazunguko, unamuona pengine ana vijisichana vidogo vidogo miaka 6 7, ana vitoto vya miaka 10 20, anaitwa sponsor. Mzee ana mvi, amekuja amevaa michain, ana chain za bling bling, amevaa vitu huku, mzee ametoboa kipuli. Hii si mzee ana hikma, huyu ni mzee mpuzi. Mzee ana hikma ni yule wa kuelekeza vijana barabara ambapo kwamba ni nzuri.
On the next episode,
kuvaa ihram haimaanishi kuwa umeingia katika ihram.
Makosa yanayofanywa wenye kufanya umra, wenye kufanya hija, kula mmoja ana makasi kidogo hapa, kata hapa kidogo, kata hapa kidogo, kata hapa kidogo. Punguza nywele ndugu yangu, hujafanya lolote hapo wewe. Tuepukeni mambo haya tafadhali. Kupunguza nywele ni nyingi, upunguze ziwe ndogo, kichwa kizima.
Hajj pia ni communal ibada. Alhamdulillah, uko na nyumba yako, uko na kitanda chako na and so on so forth, lakini ibada ya haji ni watu wanafanya pamoja.
On the next episode,
the name Allah, interestingly, and it is mu'jiza, no one else has dared to call himself Allah. Even those who are worshipping idols, there is no idol which had the name of Allah. So it's only Allah, and it is the same name which the Christian actually in the gospel mention their Lord as Allah. It is the same name which the Jews mention in their Torah. In the Torah, it is Allah. So it is the only proper name of the one to be worshipped, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator, and all other issues.
كتاب الله دستوري.
Walk with us as we tell you the stories of our society.
Wengine atavaa mtandio kichwani, utafikiri ni kijihandkerchief.
Enzi za wakati wa kusema ati alisema, akasisitiza, akihutubia wanahabari, enzi hizo hazipo tena.
Kwa kuchimbua na kunakili matukio kwa undani.
We want to create current awareness,
ranging from adventure, human interest and inspirational stories,
ili kuweza kukuelimisha, kukuburudisha na kukubumbuisha.
Words have been said, but now it is time to lay the foundation that will impact the world.
Terrorism is terrorism, no matter who is behind the trigger.
Angalia Uislamu ulipoanza ulianzaje? Ulianza kwa stidraji, ulianza kwa polepole. Wewe Adam alayhi salam, si umeonyeshwa kwamba ni bora kuliko malaika? Hawa malaika wamekusujudia wewe, kwa hivyo hata ukiwa malakaini ni jambo kubwa kwa hakika, na wao wamekusujudia wewe. Mwenyezi Mungu subhanahu wa ta'ala anasema, wala talbisul haqqa, musichanganye haki au kweli bilbatili na uongo. Katika tembo kuna dhambi nyingi na faida kidogo. Ukiwa wewe soma Qur'ani, ni uzuri utizame katika msahafu, ufikirie yale unayoyasoma.
Qur'ani kitabu changu, Qur'ani mwongozo wangu, Qur'ani mwombezi wangu, Qur'ani pumbao langu, Qur'ani kitabu changu, Qur'ani mwongozo wangu, Qur'ani mwombezi wangu.
Jambo very simple la mwezi, kila mtu ana lake. Hawa wasema tuelekee huku, wale wasema tuelekee kule. Amati nas, watu wa katikati hawajui, watu wa kawaida hawajui wafuate lipi. Confusion. Leo ni Ramadhani si Ramadhani, leo ni Idi si Idi, na kadhalika. La sivyo, lazima tuwe na mwelekeo mmoja. Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala kila siku ametuamrisha katika sala tusome surat al-Fatiha, ihdina sirata al-mustaqim, ewe Mwenyezi Mungu tuongoze njia iliyonyoka. Sasa sisi tunatakana tuelekee njia iliyonyoka. Mbona twenda huku na kule, na kila mmoja ni kiongozi, kila mmoja sema lake, kila mmoja ataka kufuatwa yeye.
On the next episode,
uwezekano wa Nabii Yunus kubaki mpaka yaumul qiyama ulikuwa ni uwezo mkubwa sana, uwezekano mkubwa sana. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala akaeleza kwenye Qur'an, falaula annahu kana min almusabbihin, lau kama yeye Nabii Yunus hakuwa ni miongoni mwa wale ambao wanamwabudu Mwenyezi Mungu, la labitha fi batnihi ila yaumi yub'athun, basi angebaki katika tumbo la samaki lile mpaka siku ya kufufuliwa wafu.
on the next episode.
Kuvaa ihram haimaanishi kuwa umeingia katika ihram.
Makosa yanayofanywa wenye kufanya umra, wenye kufanya hija, kuna mmoja ana makasi kidogo hapa, kata hapa kidogo, kata hapa kidogo, kata hapa kidogo. Hujapunguza nywele ndugu yangu, hujafanya lolote hapo wewe. Tuepukeni mambo haya tafadhali. Kupunguza nywele ni nyingi, upunguze ziwe ndogo, kichwa kizima.
Hajj pia ni communal ibada. Alhamdulillah, uko na nyumba yako, uko na kitanda chako na and so on so forth, lakini ibada ya hajj ni watu wanafanya pamoja.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. On the next episode,
the name Allah, interestingly, and it is mu'jiza, no one else has dared to call himself Allah. Even those who are worshipping idols, there is no idol which had the name of Allah. So it's only Allah, and it is the same name which the Christian actually in the gospel mentioned their Lord as Allah. It is the same name which the Jews mentioned in their Torah. In the Torah, it is Allah. So it is the only proper name of the one to be worshipped, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator, and all other issues.
كتاب الله دستوري.
Walk with us as we tell you the stories of our society.
Wengine atavaa mtandio kichwani, utafikiri ni kijihandkerchief.
Enzi za wakati wa kusema ati alisema, akasisitiza, akihutubia wanahabari, enzi hizo hazipo tena.
Kwa kuchimbua na kunakili matukio kwa undani.
We want to create current awareness,
ranging from adventure, human interest and inspirational stories,
ili kuweza kukuelimisha, kukuburudisha na kukubumbuisha.
Words have been said, but now it is time to lay the foundation that will impact the world.
Terrorism is terrorism, no matter who is behind the trigger.
Angalia Uislamu ulipoanza ulianzaje? Ulianza kwa stidraji, ulianza kwa polepole. Wewe Adam alayhi salam, si umeonyeshwa kwamba ni bora kuliko malaika? Hawa malaika wamekusujudia wewe. Kwa hivyo hata ukiwa malakaini ni jambo kubwa kwa hakika, na wao wamekusujudia wewe. Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala anasema, wala talbisul haqqa, musichanganye haki au kweli, bilbatili, na uongo. Katika tembo kuna dhambi nyingi na faida kidogo. Ukiwa wewe soma Qur'ani, ni uzuri utizame katika msahafu, ufikirie yale unayoyasoma.
Qur'ani kitabu changu, Qur'ani mwongozo wangu, Qur'ani mwombezi wangu, Qur'ani pumbao langu. Qur'ani kitabu changu, Qur'ani mwongozo wangu, Qur'ani mwombezi wangu.
Jambo very simple la mwezi, kila mtu ana lake. Hawa wasema tuelekee huku, wale wasema tuelekee kule. Amati nas, watu wa katikati hawajui, watu wa kawaida hawajui wafuate lipi. Confusion. Leo Ramadhani si Ramadhani, leo ni Idi si Idi, na kadhalika. La sivyo, lazima tuwe na mwelekeo mmoja. Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala kila siku ametuamrisha katika sala tusome surat al-Fatiha, ihdina sirata al-mustaqim. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, tuongoze njia iliyonyoka. Sasa sisi tunatakana tuelekee njia iliyonyoka. Mbona twenda huku na kule, na kila mmoja ni kiongozi, kila mmoja sema lake, kila mmoja ataka kufuatwa yeye.
On the next episode,
uwezekano wa Nabii Yunus kubaki mpaka yaumul qiyama ulikuwa ni uwezo mkubwa sana, uwezekano mkubwa sana. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala akaeleza kwenye Qur'an falaula annahu kana min almusabbihin, lau kama yeye Nabii Yunus hakuwa ni miongoni mwa wale ambao wanamwabudu Mwenyezi Mungu, la labitha fi batnihi ila yaumi yub'athun, basi angebaki katika tumbo la samaki lile mpaka siku ya kufufuliwa wafu.
On the next episode.
Kuvaa ihram haimaanishi kuwa umeingia katika ihram.
Makosa yanayofanywa wenye kufanya umra, wenye kufanya hija, kuna mmoja ana makasi kidogo hapa, kata hapa kidogo, kata hapa kidogo, kata hapa kidogo, hujapunguza nywele ndugu yangu, hujafanya lolote hapo wewe. Tuepukeni mambo haya tafadhali. Kupunguza nywele ni nyingi, upunguze ziwe ndogo, kichwa kizima.
Hajj pia ni communal ibada. Alhamdulillah, uko na nyumba yako, uko na kitanda chako na and so on so forth, lakini ibada ya hajj ni watu wanafanya pamoja.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Quote of the day. Uthman bin Affan radiyallahu anhu said, "Do not quarrel and do not create differences among yourselves. Hold fast to the rope of Allah and maintain unity in your ranks."
Horizon TV, kurunzi ya taifa. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. This is the Sabah Show. This is the round table with me, Aisha Khan. And we're just looking at the stories making the top headlines. Now, we were on the Daily Nation where Governors Fari Azuhuru blocks cash. Abdul Hakim.
Aisha, I want to tell you that the king is naked.
Okay.
You know, and his utterances are not presidential at all. You know, when your response to the governors who are asking for their constitutional right, and you tell them that hakuna pesa mtumie mshahara yenu, and you know, these governors, currently they are being given around 11-12% out of from the division of revenue, okay? And in the constitution, they are supposed to be given 15%.
Okay.
So they are not asking for anything more than just their constitutional right, you know. And when you say, you know, it's a fact that we have runaway corruption in the counties, and it is something that should be fixed.
Yeah.
But then when you tell me that you can't give them money because they are misusing what they have, and you keep it to the national government, I mean, even we are having a case of a cabinet secretary being prosecuted, and it's the national government. So there is corruption also in the national government. So you can't use that as a justification. So I am in total support of the county governments. They should be given their constitutional right, because we can't be upholding the constitution on this other side, and on the other side we are playing total hypocrisy.
Edwin.
Again, I wish to take a different course from what he's saying. You see, yes, we appreciate the challenges the national and county governments have been through. But again, when the president comes out clearly and says really there are no additional funds to give to counties. Kindly bear with what is there. I think the county governments should take that in kind, and it's just an open statement. And what we need to do, you see, if you look at Article 202, Sabbatical 2 of the Kenyan Constitution, it provides for additional funds, either conditionally or unconditionally, to county governments from the national government. You look at Article 205 of the Kenyan Constitution, which provides for consultation on the recommendations of the revenue allocation, the Commission on Revenue Allocation to National Assembly and Senate. Now, where we are as a country, we are at a catch-22 situation that is not necessary, that we can easily get out of it if we wanted. What we need to do is let county governments take what is there for now, as we wait to engage the pieces of legislation that are in place and to give national government time to bridge the budgetary deficit. You know, we cannot, the national government is actually unable to give counties whatever they want, and you can't get everything you want at any given time. You can get something of what you want as you hope for more. So even before my friend comes in, look at this. Taxman is not meeting revenue targets. The country is looking at continued borrowing, and the effect borrowing has both to the national and international levels is that if we default on borrowing from international levels, we risk tainting our image, and donor agencies may restrict our borrowing, and that might hurt our development projects. Look at borrowing nationally, or public borrowing. That it depletes private sector reserves, which this money could have used for further investment. You know, when national government borrows from the private sector, that means the private sector will not have much money to pump into the economy and create employment and grow our GDP. So what we need to do is this. We must come together as Kenyans. Look, is this cake of good size? Is it enough for all Kenyans? Do we need to increase the cake or reduce the cake or reduce our appetite so that everybody gets a little piece of the cake that we have? Because if we increase the cake, that means we're going to raise taxes, and there is no economy that grows.
Paying the taxes are
we Kenyans. Yes. We Kenyans.
Take a look at this.
Yeah.
You know, let us go back to why we brought this devolution. Kenyans voted massively.
Yes.
In 2010 to bring in this constitution, knowing that there will be development, knowing that there will be devolution. And this devolution, we didn't bring it as a toy or a fashion or something to just be seen. It is something that is supposed to work. And trust me, something, any project or an idea that is not funded is not going anywhere. It's not taking off. And the thing is this. I have heard the chairman of the Council of Governors more than once, the Kakamega governor and his predecessor, and from Lodwar, from Turkana County, and even Isaac Ruto when he was a governor from Bomet, and they have said more than once that there are counties that are just in a cycle of paying salaries. There is no more for coming up with developments. Just paying salaries and sitting in the offices, and the tea flasks are busier than the pens, you know. These people, we have to give them money. We have to give them what they deserve.
But Abdul Hakim, I wish to tell you something. We cannot eat what we have not planted.
Sure.
Don't you think that way?
Yeah, I know you employ us in the words of our president.
You can't eat your cake and have it back.
Yeah.
But it's their constitutional right. They deserve that.
I agree. Yeah. You see, he says that the money is pumped in county governments, some of them, it used for making flasks very busy than the pens.
Busier than pens.
So if we give them more money, we risk even making plates more busier.
That's true. So accountability at the end of the day? I think this will be the word for the day, accountability. Now moving on to the next story. In the Star, page 16, we have world's oldest president, Said Essebsi, dies aged 92. Tunisian leader suffered severe health crisis, passes on in military hospital. Now here, 92 years old, reigning for a very long time. This is a problem we have in Africa, where when leaders come into power, you have Algeria, you know, Bouteflika, you have an uprising in Sudan. People are revolting against it. Now this is the young generation, you know, who are like, no, we cannot have this. You know, even in Kenya, we've had such a long period of power. When someone sits, it is for me alone. Edwin, being a young leader, you know, a young upcoming leader, what do you have to say about this?
You know, we must appreciate term caps. And yes, it is always important to have a defined term so that, again, there is that change of guard. Because nobody is a reserve of wisdom. No single person can know everything. So you come into office, you implement what you can, leave office, let another person come with a different perspective. So we celebrate his life at 92. We say, may Allah rest his soul in peace.
I mean, I see you've got the hang of it.
Yes, and the people of Tunisia really wouldn't want to go into their internal affairs, but what we say is they have the right to determine the next course of action. Like we Kenyans, we can never allow a president for life because so many people have ambitions, and to satisfy those ambitions, we must ensure term limits, and we cannot accept such a lengthy presidency. That's why we want Uhuru to finish his term and we send him home.
And we are already thinking of 2022 as leaders.
Yeah, just planning in advance,
Yeah.
planning in advance.
You know, we have a problem, especially in Africa and in Kenya. We have this mentality that I don't know came from where. What is the problem with somebody being 92, being a president, and he delivers? There's absolutely no problem.
The problem comes here, there's no delivery. There are very many promises, yet we do not see anything in action. That is the problem. Yeah.
Okay. There's one thing though that my colleague needs to get.
Yes.
When you reach a certain age, your brain plateaus.
It's true.
You cannot now innovate. You cannot be inventive. You plateau completely.
Yes. You know,
supported by research, you cannot invent anything. You need now a vibrant, youthful minds that are hungry to learn and implement. Those that can innovatively tackle it. Because you see, we need leaders who will tackle the challenges of the future without grappling on the issues of the past. We need a president who will charge into the future with directional confidence. And that can only happen when we get young visionary leaders who know why they're going into public office.
I understand his youthful bravado, but let me tell you one thing. You can never get a match of experience and wisdom. That you can never. You can get a match for intelligence. You can get a match for education, but you can never get a match for experience and wisdom. And let me tell you one thing. Why I like people who lead and who are in fact older than me, and let's say people of the old age, because of one thing. If I become the president right now, Abdul Hakim, I can't be conscious of the things I can't be conscious enough of the Kenyan history and the struggles that we took against the colonial powers. But if it's somebody who was there and understood that, will not play games with our country because they understand.
Okay, let me ask you something.
Where we've come from.
I understand your point where you're saying the old, old is gold. The old are very wise. That is very true. But again, what about, let me play the devil's advocate here. What about nurturing young, brilliant minds? Because one day you might know the whole history of the country, but at the end of the day, you will go. There's life after death, Then what happens to the country?
My colleague needs to know one thing.
Yeah.
We are in the 21st century.
Yeah.
A century of digitalization and digital transformation. The challenges the young people face today are not similar to those the young people in those older days were facing. These are completely different dispensation, and we need people who can adjust and flexibly get themselves into the current challenges. And yes, we really cannot dispute experience and wisdom, but again, we must align experience and wisdom to the changing circumstances. You saw we are in a very dynamic world. Things are changing. Every coming day, technological inventions that are coming, that we need fresh minds that can be able to decrypt these changes so that they can figure out where the risk is coming. And the people who can ably do that are the young people. And what we need to do is...
Digitalization is different from leadership, But I'm not ruling out the fact that we should not bring in young people. We should bring in young people under the banner of the people who are experienced more than them, so that they can... It's simply a guidance issue.
You see, like in US, Obama, the youngest president.
He left. Who's there?
look at the legacy.
The greatest
left.
president in America,
Yes.
Trump. I love it.
So young people in leadership. In fact, when you send them in leadership, and when young people are tested and proven. Look at when Nelson Mandela started his struggle. Who was he? He was a young person. Look at Mobutu. You understand? These are young people who started their struggle when they were youthful. Look at people like the late Tom Mboya. They started when they were still youthful, hungry to learn, and you know, they were doing it with so much vigor. You know, what young people can do right now is not the same as what old people can do.
I want to come in again as the devil's advocate here. You know, when President Uhuru Kenyatta came on board, he said that Jubilee, you know, coming in with fresh minds, they're all young. Okay, what is happening today? Just tell me. All those promises, where are we today?
You know, in the history of leadership in this world, there is no single leader who has ever implemented 100% of the blueprint.
Isn't that hypocrisy?
It is not
Why
hypocrisy.
promise?
You see, you promise from outside the system. But now when you win and get into the system, you are briefed of the realities of the system. Look, like right now, we are grappling with the issue of budgetary deficit. We are looking at the issue of taxman missing on revenue targets. We are looking at the spiraling debt burden. You know, we are looking at our GDP not growing commensurate to the number of new Kenyans coming into being. And these challenges can be tackled. But again, the Jubilee government, when they came in, of course, they came in with this digitalized perspective. Yes, they haven't been able to implement everything they promised, but they are somewhere. In fact, their tenure is not yet over. We still have about 2.5 or 3 years to run, which we do not know what can happen. And so many things can happen, but I know the president is conscious that we need to fix this issue of runaway corruption, which has been denying Kenyans the services they need. If we can also fix the issue of wastage of public resources, we will have more than enough. In fact, we will not need to borrow. If we put a caveat on borrowing, that means we are going to generate revenues from our country, free our GDP from debt burden, and make Kenya economy grow again. And when it grows, and that is a trick that the government needs to know, that they need to empower, as I was sharing with my colleague here. Look at the effort being put around technical students. They are being given some grants or loans to start some business ventures. Look at what is happening to university students, graduates. A graduate leaves campus and goes to the mercy of no one. There is no kitty dedicated to jump-starting university graduates into the already murky environment. It's like being taken from a sailing ship into a rough ocean without a life-saving jacket. So graduates need to be, they need to be given a life-saving jacket that will jumpstart them into this economy. Because if you look at the way the curriculum around university students and technical colleges. The technical colleges students are trained on hands-on. University graduates come in more of management and administration. So if
coming to boss you.
Yes, you know, they have these inventive minds, entrepreneurial, that management can really go on well. So if we paired, like, let's say, we develop programs particularly to handle these people, so that we pair like a university graduate and a technical student, so that the university graduate helps in decision making and being forecasting and
Edwin, now I want to shift from politics just a little bit. So we have solid waste management. City Hall warns business owners against pollution. The Nairobi County government has threatened tough action against business owners who carelessly dispose their waste within a radius of 10 meters. Edwin, what do you have to say about this?
We cannot really compromise on matters environment. And you know, environment is like life. We pollute the environment. We are making our health, you know, we live in a very risky environment. So we need to take responsibility. When you have a premise, you need to take care of your garbage. We must make our environment clean, because this environment is like sustaining every one of us. So we need to make it clean. And yes, the county government should be very tough on implementing this waste management policy, so that everybody takes responsibility. You cannot just throw litter around like there are no laws and rules to guide the process. So we just must be responsible. If you have something you need to dispose, please dispose it at a designated area to make waste collection very easy than just littering around.
Aisha, we have a gangster mentality among business owners in Nairobi City. You know what these people do. They get their litter, instead of paying the 200 shillings, or I don't know the amount being paid when it's being collected, they wait until wee hours of the night, they take it, they put it by the roadsides. You see, this is a gangster mentality. But in as much as the Sonko's administration should be serious and relentless about this issue, they should consider a long term, because it's not safe just dumping these things in Dandora, you know, and the other dam sites. I think they should look at a long-term situation where they bring in investors who will recycle these things. Because we are gonna, if we put it in Dandora, by the time we get to 2050, it will be the whole of Eastlands has become a pile of that. Yeah, so that should be a long-term consideration.
Yeah, that's very true. And you know, maybe as we talk here, someone out there in the government will listen to us and do something about it. So now, moving on to the Friday Bulletin, as we wrap up this segment of the newspaper review, we have history is made as Hajj pedal team arrives in Makkah. So they are there, they arrived, they went on a bicycle and they arrived in Saudi Arabia. The team cycled for 43 days to raise funds for education of needy students. Now, they have been able to reach Makkah to perform the pilgrimage, which is the 5th pillar of Islam, but they have a problem. They have not been able to raise the 5 million shillings. That was their target. And we as Muslims need to come together and, you know, appreciate their effort and look at how me and you, however little we can contribute to make the mission a success, because it takes me and you to make a great nation. Well, I have been your host, Aisha Khan. This has been the newspaper review section. Now stay tuned for the roundtable, where we discuss very pertinent and thorny issues in our society. Stay tuned. Each other on set, my God.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Walk with us as we tell you the stories of our society.
Wengine atavaa mtandio kichwani, utafikiri ni kijihandkerchief.
Enzi za wakati wa kusema ati alisema, akasisitiza, akihutubia wanahabari, enzi hizo hazipo tena.
Kwa kuchimbua na kunakili matukio kwa undani.
We want to create current awareness,
ranging from adventure, human interest and inspirational stories,
ili kuweza kukuelimisha, kukuburudisha na kukubumbuisha.
Words have been said, but now it is time to lay the foundation that will impact the world.
Terrorism is terrorism, no matter who is behind the trigger.
Quote of the day. Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu said, "Hate no one, no matter how much they have wronged you. Live humbly, no matter how wealthy you become. Think positively, no matter how hard life is. Give much, even if you have been given little. Keep in touch with the ones who have forgotten you, and forgive who has wronged you. And do not stop praying for the best for those you love.
On the next episode,
watu wanasimulia kwamba mmoja katika watu wenye ibada sana katika Banu Israel alikuwa akimwomba Mwenyezi Mungu na Mwenyezi Mungu hamuitikii. Na sio kawaida kwa sababu idha sa'alaka ibadi anni fa inni qarib ud'uni astajib lakum. Huyu bwana akamuuliza mama yake, kwa nini mimi naomba na Mwenyezi Mungu haniitikii? Akamwambia, kwani unaomba vipi? Akamwambia, mimi naomba nazungumza nikiangalia juu, nikimwomba Mwenyezi Mungu yuko juu. Mamake akamwambia, hapo ndo unapokosea. Wewe omba na uso wako uko chini. Omba na unyenyekee kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, ndio Mwenyezi Mungu atakupatia. Yule bwana akafanya hivyo na polepole akaanza kupata yale mambo ambayo alikuwa akiyaomba kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu.
زمن جميل كان فيه سمونا كانت به أمجادنا
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Aro, wacha niongezee kireti tingine ya shilingi 10 nikupigie sahi.
Ongeza ya ambao.
Hey, mugaka gaki. Yaani unanipenda mpaka umeamua kuniongezea shilingi 10 ingine tu.
Hapana, siuache ukuongezea mapenzi ya 10 hata nikutunukie katoto kingine.
Tunuki kwa sasa iko na ofa mpya ya Credo Double. Piga *444 *0#. Ukichagua ofa ya shilingi 10 utapata Credo ya 20. Ofa ya 20 utapata Credo ya 40. Ofa ya 50 utapata Credo ya 100 kwa network yoyote. Kumbuka ni star kwa mara 3 *0#.
You're watching Horizon Television, the beacon for the nation. On the next episode,
kuna baadhi ya vizee siku hizi waliiyadhu billah, lakini yapo mzee miaka 60 70 iwazunguko, unamuona pengine ana vijisichana vidogo vidogo miaka 6 7, ana vitoto vya miaka 10 20, anaitwa sponsor. Mzee ana mvi, amekuja amevaa michain, ana chain za bling bling, amevaa vitu huku, mzee ametoboa kipuli. Hii si mzee ana hikma, huu ni mzee mpuzi. Mzee ana hikma ni yule wa kuelekeza vijana barabara ambapo kwamba ni nzuri.
on the Horizon TV, kurunzi ya taifa.
La kutafakari.
Leo tajiri yuenda mbio, yuatafuta wala hatosheki. Maskini yuenda mbio, yuatafuta na hatosheki. Hakuna tofauti ya tajiri na maskini katika kutafuta, bali wote wanakwenda mbio mpaka unashangaa ni yupi ambaye kwamba afaa ende mbio. Lakini hii yote kwenda mbio huku ni kwa kuwa tumekosa kufahamu madhumuni ya sisi kuwepo hapa duniani. Riziki ya waja madhmun, wallahi lau tufahamu kuwa riziki madhmun wa huwa min Allah wallahu huwa ar-Razzaq, tukiwa na itikadi na imani kama hiyo, tungekwenda mbio na ibada tukawa kazi na biashara tunaziacha zende vile zilivyo, kwa sababu riziki madhmun, kama vile ambavyo kwamba kufa kwako madhmun.
La kutafakari. La kutafakari.
الرضا بالقليل والاستعداد بيوم الرحيل. Kwa tafsiri ya uchamungu inazidi kusema, na tuwe ni waja ambao kwamba mwenye takwa ni mtu ambaye kwamba mwanzo anakumbuka kuna kitu chaitwa mauti, pili anajiandaa na kuondoka hapa duniani. Maisha tutakayoishi hapa duniani, wewe kama mcha Mungu haufai kusahau kuwa kuna yaumul mughadara, kuna siku utaondoka, walan tauda, na hautarudi.
La kutafakari. La kutafakari.
Kuna watu wako nyumbani lakini ni dhiki. Ukisafiri watoto wako wanafurahi na mkeo. Wallahi, kuna wazee ama waume wakiwa ndani ya majumba yao ni msiba. Watoto hawatamani Jumapili ifike, maana baba atakuwa ndani ya nyumba, kwa sababu mzee akiwa ndani ya nyumba ni dhiki na tabu tu. Makumbuka zamani baba zetu akiambia dadi chololo, nani siku hizi ambao dadi chololo? Ukija mimi nakumbuka shaimba dadi chololo. Jebu tuliulizeni watoto wetu walituona lini wakatuimbia dadi chololo? Ilikuwaje mpaka leo watoto hawaoni raha tukiwepo? Bana, ukiingia nyumbani wewe TV yako, remote yako, una kochi, sijui kila kitu wewe chako. Hao wengine wote ngamba wapangaji ndani ile nyumba yako, kwa kuwa ati walipa kodi na walisha watu. Kweli nyama zote pia zako, subhanallah. Watoto hula mifupa. Ngojeni baba yenu ale kwanza. Yake kula na wanao. Tie huyu lishe yule. Watoto watajuaje kula vizuri kama we huli nao? Ajue afa kula wali asiguse hapa. Ndio maana watoto wetu wana desturi, kwa sababu mababa hawapo.
La kutafakari. La kutafakari.
Mtoto kama humpi attention hakusikizi. Mtoto msikize, atakusikiza. Mtoto ukimpuza, na wallahi yakupuza. Ndio maana watoto wetu akiambo na mwalimu skuli asikiza kushinda sisi. Dadi mwalimu ansema, wewe unavyosema yote batili kwake. Na Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mtume yuko kwenye mkutano, ananyanyuka mtoto wake hakika alivyoingia. Lini wewe ulinyanyuka ukampokea mtoto wako amekuja kutembea? Tena yule ambaye kwamba hakuolewa na mume mwenye mapeni na hana senti, na akija huwa atakayompe fare, yule akiingia tu suru shazikunja. Lakini yule mwenye mapeni mumea anazo, akiingia wewe unatabasamu paka kiti wamuinukia baba. Poleni, ni ukweli, lazima tuambiane. Hotuba mgusa kila mtu paka mimi mwenyewe. Mara ngapi watoto wasipotaka kusema na sisi? Ndio maana watoto wengine wanadhulumiwa, watoto wanapigwa, watoto wanafanywa maafa, kwa sababu hawana nafasi ya kusema na sisi. Washatuogopa. Anakwenda kuchukua advice kwa watu maskani, kwa watu nje, majirani. Wanajua kutushinda watoto wetu. Walimu wanajua zaidi kutushinda watoto wetu.
La kutafakari.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Kwa jina nilobarikiwa nalo ni Ibtisam Jamal. Ungana nami katika Sabah Show
on Horizon TV.
Na kwetu wanatambua kama Mariam Wacharo. You're watching the Sabah Show
on Horizon TV.
Waswahili wanasema chelea utapata mwana si wako. Kwa majina ni Muhammad Ogura na hii ni Sabah Show
on Horizon TV.
Akawa Abdul Muttalib ampenda sana Mtume sallam hata kushinda watoto wake. Na Abdul Muttalib, Mtume Muhammad sallam alikuwa ni mjukuu wake. Abu Talib na babake Mtume sallam dimba ndugu, tumbo moja, mama moja, baba moja. Baada ya miaka miwili Abdul Muttalib kufa, alipofika miaka 10 wakaamua kufunga safari kwenda Sham, kwenda kufanya biashara. Faqala rahib, huyu mtoto akifika akionekana dola ya Rum watamuua. Akaamua kurudi kuweza kuishi katika mji wa Makka kwa mara nyingine.
Quote of the day. Uthman bin Affan radiyallahu anhu said, "Do not quarrel and do not create differences among yourselves. Hold fast to the rope of Allah and maintain unity in your ranks."
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the round table. This is where we discuss very thorny and pertinent issues in our society. And today is no exception. Today, if I asked you who you are, what would you say? What are those things that make you unique and outstanding? Who are you? Today, the topic of discussion is identity struggle. And to put this topic into perspective, of course, I have an amazing panelist here. I have Jamila Wahome, who is a psychologist, Sheikh Salim Charo, and Hudhaifa, who is also a psychologist. Now, before we get deeper into this, what do we mean when we say identity?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for having me on this show. Identity. Identity, if I was to talk about identity, it comes from the word identifying. So when I talk about my identity, what do I identify Jamila as? Who am I? Who is Jamila? Who does Jamila identify herself with? How does Jamila look at herself? So it's about you. It's not about how everybody else is looking at you. It's about you. How are you looking at yourself? Are you looking at yourself as tall, short? Are you looking at yourself as educated? Are you looking at yourself as a Muslim? Are you looking at yourself as a professional? It's really about you and how you look at yourself inwardly. Yeah.
Hudhaifa.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So if we first talk about identity, identity comprises a number of things. Identity could be your qualities, beliefs, and also looks and expressions that either make a person or a group. When you want to identify yourself, you talk about your beliefs, your personality, what your expressions are, and also you talk about the group that you belong. These are some of the things that actually put you in a category of something, either a group or a personality. So that is basically an identity. There are a number of identities, and also there is a difference between self-identity and identity.
Sheikh, what is your understanding of identity?
It's the same as what they've just mentioned, but I'll just put an input when in an Islamic perspective, and it's how Muslims look at themselves, and this is based on their faith, the culture, and what brings us together as Muslims, what makes us Muslims, and just like any other groupings and associations, and how they are identified. Yeah.
Great. So now we have the struggles of identity. Jamila, what are these struggles of identity?
Okay. A struggle is a crisis. and have just identified what identity is. So it's a crisis in trying to identify yourself. A theorist by the name of Erik Erikson in psychology came up with something called identity versus identity confusion. This happens during adolescence.
Okay.
Nobody is born with self-identity. We just acquire it as we are growing up. So as we're growing up, what we are picking from our parents, our caregivers, and then when we reach adolescence, there's something we call identity versus identity confusion. All the confusion of the world sets in when you now realize that me and my mother are different. Me and my caregiver are different. And that starts bringing in a crisis. And now we start seeing that we are having problems in life, problems in our careers, because we had thought that we were going to be like the caregiver. But now we have realized the caregiver has different interests, and I also have different interests. Also, Erik Erikson talked about something we call midlife crisis, another identity crisis. From when you were growing up, you had set some targets that at the age of 30, I want to have done X. At the age of 40, I want to have done X. You've reached 40, you haven't even achieved what you had intended to achieve at 30. So now, psychological disturbances sets in. And that's what we call as identity crisis.
Now, Sheikh, I'll come to you. You know, give us the Islamic perspective when it comes to identity.
Okay, I think, okay, I've just mentioned, but
like, how can we identify ourselves? Today I can sit here, I'm Indian, I am Muslim, I am Kenyan, you know. How can we
there's this struggle when it comes to, in fact, there's a debate when it comes to identifying ourselves as Muslims, because in every community, there's a way they want to identify themselves. There is, you know, there are people who want to identify themselves as their community first, and then as Muslims, and of which Islam tells us we should identify ourselves as Muslims first, and then the rest follows. So this is what we are having as a community, and it's a global issue because there are places where you may think that if I go there it's a Muslim majority area, of which when you go there, you find there are some practices which are not in line with what you had expected, because they had given priority of their culture or their beliefs or their communities, rather than giving priority to Islam. So there's this crisis that we're talking about.
But doesn't Islam allow me to have multiple identities, like to treasure where I come from and be proud of it, and also be a Muslim? Or am I just supposed to say that I am a Muslim and that's about it? What about my origins? Okay,
I've said the priority that we give, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Hujurat that He created us in nations and different communities or tribes, so that we may identify ourselves. So for you being a Muslim first and then being someone else secondly, that's what is required. But when we give that priority of my culture, and then when we want to do everything, we start with our community, and what is not what Islam wants, that's where the problem is. Yeah.
Let's get now a little bit real. Let's talk about our identity crisis so our audience can understand what we're talking about. For example, I know who I am. First of all, I am Kenyan. Second of all, I'm a mix of Maasai and Indian, which not many will believe. I'm sure you're also surprised here. And I am Muslim again. But there comes an identity crisis where people don't understand who I am. When I go somewhere and they see my name, because it has the Indian root to it, and they say, oh, are you Hindu? You know, I am Muslim, so how can I be Hindu? And I'm in the full hijab. So that is my identity crisis. Jamila, tell me about your experience when it comes to identity crisis, the struggle.
Oh, my struggle has been, I don't know how to call it, but I am Kikuyu. I'm born Kikuyu. And my Kikuyu brothers and sisters, and no offense intended, think that everybody who's a Muslim has Arab descent or some Indian descent or some coastal relatives. And here I am, Jamila, being a Kikuyu, and when I sit with my Kikuyus and I'm in full hijab and I start talking Kikuyu. And they look at me like, how can you be a Muslim Kikuyu? It's like they don't understand how one can actually be a Kikuyu and actually be a Muslim at the same time. So sometimes I'm even forced to keep quiet when my tribesmates are there, because now I'll attract a lot of attention. But one is a religion and the other one is my ethnic tribe, and there's nothing I can do about my ethnic tribe. I still identify myself as a Kikuyu. Yeah.
Great. Sheikh Salim Charo, tell us about your experience. Have you struggled?
Yeah, I've struggled, yeah. In fact, I happen to be, okay, I am Salim Maina Charo.
Yes.
I'm also, my mother is a Kikuyu.
Okay.
And you know, when it comes to, everyone knows me as Salim Charo. So when that M, okay, mostly I use M. So when that M comes to light, so people start wondering, how come you are, and you know, so, and most people think that, you know, okay, I have Ninicosterian roots, and that's, I'm also a Giriama. And, you know, it's, it brings up Nini, because we are also born and raised here in Nairobi. So when you go there in Kilifi, they call you Mbara. So when you're here, now they know you are from coast. So, you know, so there's that one. Even at times, it gets to a time where you even wonder, so where am I going to align myself with? So
where do I fit in?
Where am I going to? So, nasema tu mimi ni Muislamu, and that's it.
but don't you think saying that you're Muslim is killing your identity? Like, that identity that you are Kikuyu or you are mixed, you know, that pride that we have, why are we letting it go?
No, I'm not letting it go. In fact, even my 6-year-old daughter knows that she's a Giriama. So, and she has a Giriama name. And I keep on reminding her. And okay, that's what I've resolved to keep on. So, so I just identify myself as a Giriama. And since that's where my roots are, and it's not that it's killing it, but you know, you have this ethnicity, and then you have the religion. And you know, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came, he taught about you know, there were these issues which were jahiliya, and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he emphasized is that that you follow religion, but those bad practices that come from these communities are the ones which we are supposed to do what? To stay away from. And Rasul sallallahu did not discourage people aligning themselves from their tribes or the communities or the clans that they came from. And that's why you are going to find that you will find that Muslims or most Arabs, they have their this what they call nisba. This is the where they come from, the clans and the tribes and so on. And that's why we know, for instance, for the Rasul sallam, you'll hear him, he's Muhammad bin Abdullah al-Qurayshi al-Adnani.
I want to catch you there. We'll get deeper into that. Hudayfa, what have your struggles been?
Okay, when you talk about identity struggles, you find out that all of us come from certain origins.
Yes.
Islam now is a religion whereby it supersedes all these origins.
Okay.
But that doesn't change the fact that we still come from a certain tribe or culture or customary origin. So, for instance, I'm from a Somali background.
Yes.
And being from a Somali background, if you are not maybe, for instance, born in exactly the places where Somalis live, or maybe in, let's say, we call it Badia, ama Ushago in Kiswahili. If you are not born in those kinds of places, whereby now you are directly introduced into your origin, and maybe you are born outside, like for instance, you're born in a town or something, what happens now is, there is that feeling whereby, like, you weren't actually born in a place whereby you have that kind of original tribe. So what happens now is, according to my struggles, I wasn't exactly born at Badia or even in Shago. I was born in town.
Okay.
So I still have identity struggles myself, whereby I have to find back my roots and go back, and also some of the practices my people do, I have to be initiated and also get to know more even about my my culture. So when Islam now comes, Islam now supersedes all these other origins. It even gives you more avenue to learn about your practices, which ones are good for you and which ones are not. So Islam now supersedes all other origins. It's a beautiful religion, it's a beautiful way of life, and also it intermarries all origins, and it doesn't exclude anyone.
Now, you know, you're Somali, you just stated that, and there is clanism, if I may put it like that. I know one of the communities called Isaac, and you know, there is fight amongst the clans. Why?
Okay.
Do you think that's a struggle for you?
Okay, normally, in our background, like Somalis, tribe is a very important thing. But now they've taken it to another level, whereby now somebody might actually feel that your tribe or your sub-clan is much more important than even the religion. It reaches a point whereby that creates conflict. It creates a conflict to even very bigger proportions. So what happens now is there is that culture that people took from their great-grandfathers and so on and so forth.
And it's boiling down to
it's
greater
boiling
generations.
down to our generation and the next. So it, if you go for those Somalis who are actually born in town and so on and so forth, that aspect isn't in them. But for those who are actually still in the rural setup, still find out that kind of origin to be much more important than anything else. So they are willing actually to even attack you if, for instance, you attack their personality or origin.
Thank you so much for that, Hudhaifa. Now, we'll be taking a short break. Remember, you can join in the conversation that is at Horizontv Kenya on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let's get this conversation rolling. Do you know who you are? What are your identity struggles? Talk to me.
No matter how much they have wronged you. Live humbly, no matter how wealthy you become. Think positively, no matter how hard life is. Give much, even if you have been given little. Keep in touch with the ones who have forgotten you, and forgive who has wronged you. And do not stop praying for the best for those you love.
On the next episode,
watu wanasimulia kwamba mmoja katika watu wenye ibada sana katika Banu Israel alikuwa akimwomba Mwenyezi Mungu na Mwenyezi Mungu hamuitikii. Na sio kawaida, kwa sababu idha sa'alaka ibadi anni fa inni qarib ud'uni astajib lakum. Huyu bwana akamuuliza mama yake, kwa nini mimi naomba na Mwenyezi Mungu haniitikii? Akamwambia, kwani unaomba vipi? Akamwambia, mimi naomba nazungumza nikiangalia juu, nikimwomba Mwenyezi Mungu yuko juu. Mamake akamwambia, hapo ndo unapokosea. Wewe omba na uso wako uko chini, omba na unyenyekee kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, ndio Mwenyezi Mungu atakupatia. Yule bwana akafanya hivyo, na polepole akaanza kupata yale mambo ambayo alikuwa akiyaomba kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu.
زمن جميل كان فيه سمونا كانت به أمجادنا تتوالى.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the round table with me, Aisha Khan. Now today the topic of discussion is identity struggles. Now you can SMS us, you can call us on the numbers on your screen, and also you can reach us on social media. That is at Horizontv Kenya, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let's get this conversation rolling. Now back to it. You know, when we say I am a Muslim, what identifies me as a Muslim? Sheikh Charo.
Number one is the Shahada. And the belief that you have in your heart. That's the most important thing. And then the rest follows. Yeah.
Physical.
Physical. Okay, this Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us how men and women should wear, and he just gave guidance on how we have the Sifatu Sabah, the 7 how we are for a woman. There are 7 things that she should consider.
Qualities, yes.
Yeah, when it comes to her wearing. So it does not necessarily mean you have to put on black garment on you for you to be on hijab. But as long as that whatever you are wearing is not that tight, it's not it does not that much decoration that may bring attention, and you know those sifat that Rasul Sallam gave us. So
now Sheikh, how much decoration is decoration? Because our cultures are rich. Looking at the Nubian culture, the Indian culture, colors are the it. Without colors, there's no culture there. So how can we blend in our cultures with Islam?
Okay, yeah, there's a way, because even when you look at how even Rasul Sallam used to, he himself,
yes,
at times there are some hadith that that report Rasul Sallam used to wear an attire that is that was associated with Yemen's. And then we have there are certain cloth that Rasul Sallam used to wear that is associated with a certain community of Arabs. So it does not necessarily mean that you must be on kanzu for you to be considered a Muslim. Yeah. Okay. And as long as the wearing that you are, the garment that you have are within the teachings of
Islamic
Islam.
parameters.
Yeah.
And now coming to the kanzu, because you know the non-Muslim looks at a Muslim out there, even a Muslim, you know, when we see you in a kanzu, we think you're very religious. That is the notion out there. But now, can someone go, like for example, to the mimbar in a trouser, shirt, like with tie, proper suit and tie? Is that a crime? Like, is that un-Islamic?
Okay, it is not a crime.
Yeah.
In fact, we have most sheikhs or some sheikhs in Egypt. They like the late Morsi. He used to give his sermons on a suit, and those are some of the things that happen. And you know, when we talk of the kanzu, you know, this was some of the attires that was being worn during those times, and it is that when maybe when we saw these people when they came to propagate Islam to us, they came on a kanzu. So we thought this is being religious, but it does not really show that being a Muslim is wearing a kanzu, because we have Wakorinos, we have the Lejo Maria, we have other the Musambwe people, they put on kanzus. Hata on Sunday unaweza kutana mmoja ukaambia salamu alaikum, of which they are not.
You get confused.
Yeah, you get confused. So it does not necessarily mean putting on kanzu or a black buibui or such
So in short, we can still have our cultures and still be a Muslim. Now, Jamila, I will come to you and ask you what identifies you as a Muslim. Today, if I told you, you know, what makes you proud of being a Muslim? What makes you feel like a Muslim?
Okay. For me, Jamila, what makes me feel like a Muslim is, first of all, for me, Islam is a way of life. It's not a Friday thing, it's not a Monday thing. So it's from when I wake up in the morning until when I go to sleep.
Yes.
We are guided by the principles of Islam from morning till evening. So for me, it's the whole setup from when I wake up until when I retire to bed. I have to profess the Muslim faith. And again, I would have to come back and identify what does the Muslim faith profess, and am I within those parameters of what is a Muslim. So that is what identifies me as a Muslim.
Amazing. Now moving to happy moments, celebrating our happy moments and looking at our cultures. For example, when you go to, you know, take a hand in marriage, in Kikuyu it's called Rurashio. Rurashio, yes. Rurashio, and then in Kiswahili they say kupeleka begi. Okay, I don't know, in Kisomali how do you say when you want to propose to a girl?
Okay, what happens now in
the name?
The name is, we call it Kabara Ladona.
Oh my, I'll pass that one. So now we have all these cultures of ours, yeah? And then we have Islam. Now Shakha will come to you. Is it wrong for Jamila today or yourself or for me to celebrate in our happy moments and treasure, you know, eat our gideri, eat our skuma and ugali, you know, without saying that I have to eat pilau in my wedding because I'm a Muslim?
Okay, this brings us to another topic where it comes to the urf in usul al-fiqh. And when you're talking of it means that there are some cultural practices which are allowed in Islam. And you know, Islam did not come to change completely how people live, but to look at it come to correct the bad practices that were used to oppress other people. And as long as you know, for instance, when you're talking of Eid, you know, these were practices that were being this was a celebration that was practiced by the Ansar in Medina, or the Aus and Khazraj. But Rasul Sallam, he came to change them into a religious practice, and that eventually it came after Eid and the other one after Hajj. So as long as these practices, when you want to marry, it does not go against the teachings of Islam, it is allowed. But when, for instance, when you're talking of Rorashio, you know, there's a time when those elders, they want you take alcohol to them. You know, like such a practice we cannot apply.
Even the kilema and maziwa, you know, the one you're given on your wedding night.
Yes. So as long as it's something that is allowed in Islam, and it does not have maybe those, you know, it is not something that is against the teachings of Islam. So for instance, we cannot give alcohol, or we cannot pay for alcohol, or we cannot do something that we know this is against the teachings of Islam. But when talking of maybe the milk, what does it mean? Does it is it meant that it is going to bring a good omen, or if it goes to that direction, it is it's something that will be prohibited. But as long as something that is the culture that this how our elders used to do it, is something that is will be allowed.
Okay, so I'll touch on another very sensitive issue when it comes to names. You know, we have a very beautiful culture again, which I am trying to say that we must take pride in it. You know, we have Islam, we have our culture, yes. Now, for example, my name is Gitonga, and that means rich. My name is Njeri, that means the lovable one. And then we have Ado, which means?
White in complexion.
White in complexion.
Yeah.
We have all these beautiful names. Does it mean that we need to have an Islamic name? Jamila, what do you think?
For me, I think a name is important because it actually identifies who you are. People say there's nothing in a name. Personally, I think professionally there's everything in a name, because you will see people respond to their names from when they are young.
Sure.
Some of these names we didn't choose, some of them we choose, but the African culture has this habit of having 3 or 4 or 5 names. The first name actually is supposed to represent your religion, and then the second name we call them home names, or from where you come from.
Yeah.
Like my home name is actually Njeri, and I identify with that. But if you it's not a name that I'm used to.
Yeah.
But it's when I'm writing, it's always there.
Okay.
And we have, even when we look at the official forms that we're filling, they have spaces for Africans. We have very many names, more than 3 names, because the first name is actually like chosen, and then the second and the third identifies your parent or where you come from or your culture and who you're named after. Like the Kikuyus, we always name after a parent or somebody that that is either the husband or the wife's family. Yeah.
Hudhaifa, what do you have to say about this?
Okay, when we talk about names, like my sister Jamila said, names have personal meaning for people. When somebody is given a name, that name is an identity assumed for a lifetime.
Okay.
Okay, so these names have personal significance for everybody. So all of us, for instance, when we were born, we are given names according to our origins, according to our cultures. And some of us, we are also given name according to the religion. So in our Somali background, for instance, somebody is given a name like the one I mentioned, Ado, which means maybe somebody who's lighter in complexion.
Yes.
That name now signifies maybe his complexion. Another one
and
may be
it
given,
identifies him.
and it identifies him. It gives him that sense of identity.
Yes.
That he looks that way, and therefore he should adopt thinking and also doing things according to the way he was given the name.
Amazing, Hudhaifa. Now, according to the Islamic perspective, can I be called Gitonga, Mudoni, Ado, without changing my name to Abdallah, Mariam, Aisha? What is the Islamic perspective on that?
Number one, just as they have mentioned or they said, is that name is the first thing that identifies a person. And when we go back to the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, we're going to see that when Abu Bakr, Umar and the rest, when they accepted Islam, they never changed their names. They remained as their names were. And also when it comes to naming, Rasulullah ﷺ said that we should give our children the best names, Abdurrahman and so on. And also there are some number of Sahabis that their names were changed. And these were names which had meanings which are not in line with Islam. So and this is what made their names to be changed. So as long as your name does not have that bad meaning and it does not give a bad impression, you can remain with that name. And people prefer changing their names for them to be identified as Muslims. But it's not something that is of that much necessity.
Okay.
And you know,
those are the reverts when they are coming into Islam.
When you come to Islam, as
they
long as
always want a Muslim name. Is it because we are confusing the Arab culture with Islam?
Yeah, number one is because they are confusing the Arab culture with Islam, and also, you know, even from the religions where they come from, that's how there's a time when a person is baptized, you know, and they are given these Christian or English names.
Yeah.
So they think the same. When I come to Islam, I must change my name. But as long as your name does not go against the teachings of Islam, there's no problem in that. And in fact, there's one of the scholars. He was a psychologist to say.
Yes.
His name is Ibn Jinni. He was talking to Ibn Taymiyyah, and he told Ibn Taymiyyah that, you know, the names that we give to our children, they have effect to our children.
Yeah.
And he just stared at him and said, yeah, I can see from what you are telling me, you know, and what he meant is that your name is Ibn Jinn and you want to tell me the effect, so I'm seeing you as a jinn, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, this is how it is, and we've seen some of our cultures. We have like in Kikuyu, we have names like Moreu. You know, Moreu is a drunk person. You know, we have like in Kamba we have Biti. You know, Biti is a hyena. You know, so these are some of the names that we can think of changing. But as long as it has a good meaning, there's no problem in that. Yeah.
Jamila, what comment do you have before we take a break on that issue?
Okay, the names, like the Sheikh has said, everything is in a name. Because sometimes if you give somebody a negative name, and if you look in the future, they start coming up with negative traits.
Yeah.
So it's important that you give your child a positive name, so that they can come up with positive traits in life.
Wow, very true.
And also, before we go to break, I think also we have this culture of naming our children after our parents or certain people.
Is that allowed? Or even when someone gets married, the wife takes the husband's name?
No, in Islam, the wife remains with the father's name.
Okay.
But when it comes to naming our children after certain people, and yet we know how they used to be. You know, you call someone, for instance, Halima, and we know the Halima that you are naming her used to be, you know, had a negative attitude.
Yeah.
You know, that might affect our children. And when it comes to naming, if we name our children good names like Omar, and you want your child to be like Omar ibn Khattab,
yes,
definitely it will bring the good meaning.
Amazing. Now, from all this, what I get is that Islam is very accommodative. You can still have pride in your identity and still be a Muslim. Now, remember, you can join in the conversation. Tweet us at Horizontv Kenya, on Facebook, on Instagram. Stay tuned as this conversation gets deeper.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. On the next episode,
kuna baadhi ya vizee siku hizi waliiyadhu billah, lakini yapo mzee miaka 60 70 iwazunguko, unamuona pengine ana vijisichana vidogo vidogo miaka 6 7, ana vitoto vya miaka 10 20, anaitwa sponsor. Mzee ana mvi, amekuja amevaa michain, ana chain za bling bling, amevaa vitu huku, mzee ametoboa kipuli. Hii si mzee ana hikma, huyu ni mzee mpuzi. Mzee ana hikma ni yule wa kuelekeza vijana barabara ambapo kwamba ni nzuri.
Abdul Muttalib ampenda sana Mtume sallam hata kushinda watoto wake. Na Abdul Muttalib, Mtume Muhammad sallam alikuwa ni mjukuu wake. Abu Talib na babake Mtume sallam dimba ndugu, tumbo moja, mama moja, baba moja. Baada ya miaka miwili Abdul Muttalib kufa, alipofika miaka 10 wakaamua kufunga safari kwenda Sham, kwenda kufanya biashara. Faqala rahib, huyu mtoto akifika akionekana dola ya Rum watamuua. Akaamua kurudi kuweza kuishi katika mji wa Makka kwa mara nyingine.
Kwa jina nilobarikiwa nalo ni Ibtisam Jamal. Ungana nami katika Sabah Show
on Horizon TV.
Na kwetu wanatambua kama Mariam Wacharo. You're watching the Sabah Show
on Horizon TV.
Waswahili wanasema chilea utapata mwana si wako. Kwa majina ni Muhammad Ogura na hii ni Sabah Show
on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the last segment. And today the topic of discussion is identity struggles. Now remember, you can SMS us, you can call us in. Tell us, what are your identity struggles? Now, as we're talking about identity struggles, you know, we as Muslims, you know, today if I walk into a meeting and I'm covered like this, we know that we are not allowed to shake hands. There are people in countries where there is Islamophobia and they cannot wear the hijab. There are others who they go with their friends and maybe there's pork and there is alcohol and they cannot drink it. Now, how do we react in such situations, Hudhaifa?
It's very important for us as Muslims to actually put it clear what our values are. For instance, if you are Muslim and you come to a place whereby people are eating pork, so you don't have to actually eat with them. You have to tell them what your values are and the reason why you cannot eat with them. So it is, I think, it's always important to actually put it clear where you stand. If it is shaking the other person's, the next gender's hand, I think it's very important to show other people what your values are, practice them with confidence, and also tell them how much your values are different from theirs, and that you don't have to actually eat what they're eating, so that you identify with them.
Very true. Now, Jamila, what is the importance? Now we're getting into value identity. What is the essence of value identity?
For me, professionally, value identity is how much weight you carry your values, your self-esteem, your struggles. You will get struggles, but how, like my brother says, how strong are your values? Such that in a crowd, for example, let me give me an example of a graduation. You're supposed to be greeting whoever who it is and getting your certificate. If your values are strong enough, you'll be able to just tell them, you can't greet them, but you take your certificate. That does not make you a bad person. It just makes you a strong Muslim. And whoever who it is should be able to understand, this one, it's okay. She's not being bad. It's just her values are stronger. Because most people, you'll find that they'll just go with the flow. And then feel bad after it's over.
Sheikh, Islamic perspective on that.
Number one, what we are supposed to do as Muslims, we are supposed also to, the ones that we are with our colleagues to work or school or wherever we are, we are supposed to ensure that they know that what our values are and what we do and what we don't do. And in that, it has gotten to a place where people do understand Muslims. They know Muslims don't take alcohol. They know Muslims don't take pork, and they know. And in fact, when it comes to some of the forums in hotels, when we are booking or when we are being invited, at least these are some of the things we're supposed to be to let them know that in such an arrangement we should have our own arrangement. We need a prayer room, we need this and that. Yeah, so and this is what makes them understand that.
So it is for us, it is our responsibility to talk to others nicely and explain to them our values and how our stand at the end of the day. Yes, so if I would like to add something?
If I add something,
Sheikh
has said, you know, you most of the time you also find out that because people have assumed the identity of being a Muslim, they feel that maybe partaking in activities that are of national interest maybe are actually not Islamic. So you find out that people maybe cease to participate in voting and so on and so forth. That one is not actually from a reasonable point.
We'll come to that, Hudhaifa. That is the political identity, our role towards our nation. But before we get to that, Sheikh, I have a question. Now today, in terms of value identity, I have friends who are eating pork and drinking. Is it allowed for me as a Muslim to sit in such a setup and, you know, I'm not eating it, I'm just sitting there. Is it okay?
No, it is not okay, because Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited us from doing such. Because once you sit in such a setup, it means that today you are going, and then you are going to get used to that, and then tomorrow you are going to test. And you know how people are introduced into alcohol and such. You know, you are given a mixture, and then tomorrow and eventually. And also the other part is that there's this in one of the hadith, Rasul sallam says that we are supposed to abstain or stay away from things which are doubtful. Once you sit there
and a person comes in, you know, you will need to explain to that person that you are not taking, you are just keeping them company. So we are not supposed to be in such. But having such friends, it is recommended because we are, in a way, we can give them da'wah, we can discourage them from doing such things. Yes.
Okay, so there's a very interesting thing that I read. They say, speak in his language and you will speak to his heart. Now, psychologically, how important is it to know your language? Because if we go back, you look at assimilation, the French, you look at the British with colonialism, they came and they were introducing this thing called sophistication, in quotes, to us to forget our cultures. Now, I want the psychological point. How important is it to know our cultures? Because today, if we look, our cultures are diminishing day by day. Where we don't know our mother tongue, that means our children and the children to come will not know their mother tongue. Hudhaifa.
Okay, that one, we call it in psychological circles, we call it psychological rapport, whereby now for you to connect with somebody, you have to find out what exactly this person's values are or language, so that you can connect with them at a base level, so that you have to engage. So what happens now is, for instance, we have people who give up their Islamic identities so that they identify themselves with Western perspective. So this one is in a bid to show that you are open-minded. You now give up your religion to a point whereby now you start identifying with other people's values, and that one is not a good thing to do. What you have to do is you have to be proud of your origin. You have to be proud of your faith, and also you have to respect the values of others and not give up your own, so that you actually satisfy somebody else. It's not always a good thing. From a psychological perspective, it's always important to connect with what the other person has, so that you engage with them in the level they best understand. That one will give interest to the other person, so that they contribute their point and tell you about their culture, so that you actually have a connection and respect each other's values.
Amazing. Now, Sheikh Sharo, I'll come to you. In Islam, you know, we know that the language is Arabic. We read the Quran. It's supposed to be read in Arabic. But again, what respect, like what liberty do we have to know our cultures? Because as you said in Surah Al-Hujurat, that Allah has made us in tribes and nations for us to know each other. That means we also have our languages. Now, in Islam, what is there anything that states that we should talk in our languages?
Yeah, there's no harm in talking in your language.
Yes.
And you know, when you talk of being identified as a Muslim,
yeah,
you know, Arabic comes as a language that unifies us as Muslims. You know, it's a common language because it's the communication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala communicated to us through. And then it does not mean that then we should stop speaking in our languages, in our tribes, so that we may adopt. And in fact, when you're talking of the Western country, the Western languages, this came as a counter, because when Islam was spreading historically, you know, the language that they came up with, it was Arabic, and this was a common language that people are universally agreeing or communicating. So they saw the same thing that they should do is to come and get rid of these other languages and establish their own, so that they may meet their agendas or their targets. But generally, Islam does not tell us in anywhere that we should stop practicing our cultures, which are according to Islamic teachings, or even speaking in our languages. Yeah.
Now, we have established that we have an identity crisis, and how can we overcome this? Now, for example, today I'm sitting on the set here, and maybe there is a white person on set who is a mzungu, as we term them, and has very silky hair, nice blue eyes, and then I have an African who equally has very beautiful skin, you know, the black color, and has had hair. Okay, now how can we appreciate each other? You know, be proud of where I am. God has created me like that. But at the same time, look at that other human as, you know, Allah has created us in different forms, and for us to appreciate each other. Jamila.
There's the stereotyping that we all go through as Africans, that the white skin is supposed to be superior.
Yeah.
And the black skin is supposed to be inferior
Yeah.
in whichever way. But as a psychologist, you're not supposed to impose your values or anybody's values on the other person. You're supposed to be as non-judgmental as possible, and you're told to try and appreciate the other person as they are. Actually, what you're told is try and enter the other person's shoes. Try and feel what they are feeling. This white skin that you're seeing that is supposedly superior may not be as superior as you're thinking. Just try and put yourself in their shoes and understand where they are coming from, because you have a culture, they also have a culture.
Yes.
You have a struggle, they also have their own struggles in the white skin. The black skin as well, Africans, we think because we're in this part of the world, there's something wrong with this part of the world. You'd be very surprised. Maybe you have it better than people in the Western world. Yeah.
Final words.
I think what we're supposed to, as Muslims, we should give our Islamic identity priority, and we should stay away from those bad practices and the bad practices that we've been having for even the world itself needs to be people to live in harmony and in peace. So as long as we prioritize Islam, I know the world will be a good place to be in.
Hudhaifa, final words.
Okay, so talking about self-identity, identity crisis, and the struggles of identity, we have to know that the first important thing is do not compromise your values at any level, whether in form of giving up your culture for a better culture that you think maybe isn't an Islamic. So it's always important to not give up your values for purposes of satisfying anybody or anything.
Thank you so much for coming on board, and may this conversation continue, and may we treasure our identities, our heritage. As we have seen, Islam is very accommodative. We can have our cultures, of course, with the limitations within Islam, and we can still be practicing Muslims. Now, as always, I have my perspective. It is important to know yourself, know your sole purpose in this life and your creator. As they say, he who does not know himself does not know his creator. I will leave you a verse from Surah Al-Hujurat, and Allah says, I will not quote it, but He says, I have created you in tribes and nations for you to know each other. So yes, you can have your identity and you can still be a good Muslim. I have been your host, Aisha Khan, and this has been the Round Table, where we talk about thorny and pertinent issues in our society.
Horizontv,